Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Darksiders 3. Let's continue. So, we went through this whole building and there was just kind of nothing in it. It was just a spiral staircase basically to get from point A to point B. Whereas we went through that building and at least we fought a angel champion. What it occurs to me though is that shouldn't there just be like essence of lust if we're going towards lust, or essence of each of the seven deadly sins in each of these rooms, like one champion boss that is being influenced by the seven deadly sins, or collectibles, like one collectible, uh, perhaps. Like I've called a lot of games lately unfinished, but I can't help but call this not fully thought out as an idea. Um, that there should have been something there that said, hey, you're working towards a seven deadly sin, even if it was just a collectible called Essence of Sin that you collected. I think that would just make a lot of sense. The only thing that could possibly explain the emptiness of this is if there is like an alternate dimension version of the entire world, and that's what happens when we walk through that portal next to Pride, and then all of a sudden the world is twice as big and there are like alternate dimension uh, things to interact with. If that is the case though, uh, then I would have to start to wonder what the entrances and exits of that alternate dimension is. So, no, you can't get up to that. I thought maybe you could get up to that and to the top of the building. At a certain level, it kind of feels like you might, at some point, be able to just get on every building. That, too, would be weird. Meanwhile, we're going on this highway. We're probably going to fight some people for at least a little bit, but also I wouldn't be surprised if it's mostly being chased by a giant monster-like creature. What would be weird, I suppose, is if it turns out that we were actually not going as far as I think down this highway, and that this is just an extra area. The demon was pointing this way when I was down on the ground, and now the sin is pointing this way. So I think it is a system where they have pre-rendered out a linear path, just probably either by hand or using a pathfinding algorithm, and then there's this invisible line in the coding that the radar always points to. That way it doesn't just point you in a direction you can't actually go. Yeah, looking over there, that is a lot of level design to potentially never reach. Yeah, that feels like that's quite a lot, but you know, it's somewhat believable too, because I bet I can't really reach over there either, and they're just trying to not make it look terrible. We've all, I'm sure, seen video game sections where you get to the edge of the world and then it's just a blank, empty void of some sort. We get a soul. It doesn't look like there's any writing to be read on any of these signs. So, I'm trying to decipher if this is supposed to be New York City or some other place. Seems impossible. It's just left open.
of our presence? I have no doubt, especially considering the way you carry on.
So yeah, there's this giant monster, like, in the water. But I really would assume that Fury has the attitude of the bigger they are, the harder they fall, more than most. Although noticeably, compared to the Havoc form in the first game, Fury doesn't get particularly large. If anything, they probably are admitting in this game that it was a mistake to have such large demons in a couple of places in the first game.
It would seem.
See, and that is an area we've already been, so we are circling around again. Yeah, the giant boss fights did have a tendency to feel a little different in the first game and not quite as polished as other boss fights in the first game. Like, I don't mind enemies about twice as big as the player character, but when you start to get like demonic monsters that are 5-6 times bigger, that's too big. And then you start to get the feeling that you're just beating on a wall or a giant statue versus hand-to-hand combating with the actual enemy. And I guess at a certain level in the first game, War had his gun to shoot people in the face, and whereas Fury really only has her spinning blade. Yep. So I guess we're just wrapping around. I was expecting a sequence there. I definitely was expecting to be chased by the monster, and instead of just being teased by the monster. I don't mind being teased that a giant boss fight is coming. I wouldn't even be surprised if that is Lust, since each of these 7 deadly sins aren't inherently looking like what you would just expect if they were human. None of them seem to be really human. I guess that's a freebie human to save. Of course, we never get a... see, what time did the apocalypse happen? At 9:35 and 16 seconds. Of course, a date would be way more useful. Obviously, this is going to be a shortcut area at some point. And we got a lot of pop-in. And we are just back in a building. I'd say the game is probably going in the opposite direction too much by not having big boss fights. Because now we have narrow... narrow sections too often. It has to be just an overall lack of direction. Same is true for the fact that we're going through rooms, entire buildings, and barely finding anything in the buildings. They're overemphasizing the shards like the shards really matter. I didn't exit out of the game, so the textures are still not loaded in correctly. There's nothing here. So, yeah. Yeah, I guess if there was a way you could just always pop in and out of an alternate dimension to see if there were other collectibles in the world, there might be an idea around that. But even that thought doesn't, like, yeah, even the idea of if you were to just be able to jump between one dimension and the other dimension falls apart when you don't have some kind of like shadow technology. So we would also have to see that there were collectibles in kind of like this hollow shadow form in one dimension to know that we should jump to the other dimension, because it's way too much of an ask. Yeah, just way too much of an ask to have the player play the game, the entire square footage of the game twice in a row. Like, it would become extremely annoying extremely fast if I was constantly double checking and teleporting myself from one world to the other. And it would have to be a instantaneous transport, because even if there's a slight pause in the loading, that would only exacerbate the problem. Yep. I am noticing also that if you lock on with Shatter, you can fire it a lot further than if you're not locked on. There's nothing up there. I thought maybe there was some kind of secret crawl space. There is still this. And yeah, I'm seeing too many of these little purple things now to make me think anything short of I should have taken on Pride first. Yeah, in a lot of ways the game pretty much tells you that too. So I very possibly am just missing an entire hollow. That we saved, and you can see the game kind of paused there because we saved. Oh yeah, and we've gone full circle. Once again, we've gone full circle. We started here, and then I guess we had to go up here at the beginning of the game, and there probably was some kind of collectible or something up here that we already got. Yep. And this again would be a great point where a map would help. And this gate was closed, and we just opened the gate. So this might be an interesting experiment where we will get all the way to Lust.
Are you serious? It knows we're here. No. In fact, your shrieking clearly acts as a lullaby. Yes. Sarcasm.
Which of you is worse? I wonder.
It's funny, it sent the arm through there and then plugged that hole. I guess because they didn't want you to think that you're supposed to jump after it. But that doesn't make the most amount of sense. The thing to take from this, though, is that giant tentacle arm, which we assume is attached to something else, doesn't really seem like it's attacking me as much as it may just be helping me. And while this is different, it needs to actually do something while being different and not just be some interrupting cutscenes where it is pausing my control of the character, because that feels a little odd considering how much we've been able to do with control of the character. I'm assuming that down there is an area we've already been, and that we are just working our way to new areas. These little flags were, I thought, for the angels, so maybe that's supposed to be the thing that tells us to go in a certain direction. But if that is the case, they haven't made that very obvious. It would have been so easy to have Uriel, whatever the angel was, Ursiel, like Ursula, really, from The Little Mermaid. But yeah, have the angel tell you to follow our flags and that you will lead you to lust as a secondary marker on top of the radar. And Ursiel, I assume, is he seems like a good guy, but it wouldn't be the first time in a Darksiders game where an angel turns out to be a bad guy. So if he in some way is controlling the giant tentacles, I wouldn't be super surprised. Yeah, that guy summons more characters. This is connected, so it's literally opening both doors. See, that's the way forward. But see, I can't really throw... Yeah, I can't really get up there and fight that guy, so they have done an experiment here, basically, of giving you an infinite number of enemies that you could grind on. So I guess if you needed that, that would be an option. As a way to recover your health, I guess, or gain some experience. This is all just a cutscene. So we've got one tentacle on one side, another tentacle on the other side. Yeah. And then what? What opening? What opening?
Was that one of the 7?
Perhaps. One could have changed since our last encounter.
Now we have a different color demon skull. Let's open this door, see where this goes, and then I think what I want to do is we gotta go back and take on Pride again. Like, or we gotta take on Pride. There's something broken around this idea, certainly. And boy, would I love a map again. Yeah, I think this just circles again. But yeah, we're having a very weird experience now where we're encountering what very possibly was one of the 7 deadly sins, and we're not fighting it. We're not really seeming like we would even be capable of fighting it. Unless we're going to run around in circles and attack it more. Like, so I am thoroughly confused. Like, we're past the point where it's just a case of, oh, maybe we made a mistake, or maybe we're going to come back to it.
What would you ask of this? Please take.
Let's go to the Maker's Forge. Let's see if we can see what we kind of need in the first place. I want to get the numbers right. And theoretically, I could collect that idea and do the numbers in my head, but it's easier just to let the game tell me.
What do you need? Aiming to lay down a
So,
mighty heart, Harry?
slivers of adamantium is the question. I need 2 of those for that, and probably 6 more on that. So 8 would be my guess. Yes. 8 plus another 4 would be 12. Plus another 2 would be 14. And then another 6 would be 20.
Interesting. Take care.
Which I don't even have enough
Watch your back, eh?
for that, but that should be, we can make some progress towards all of that. Of course, buying slivers of adamantium now
Take your
may
time. An excellent choice.
may just be wasteful. Notably, his ingredients list
Decision.
isn't increasing.
A wise decision. A wise decision.
And this is very much in line with the second game too, is that they have all these menus and all these ideas of items and ingredients, and just none of it really makes as much sense because it's not implemented particularly well, and it's not done in such a way that you would even want to engage with those systems. The second game in particular definitely felt like it wanted to be some kind of MMO, and there we go. That's so we still need 8 more slivers of adamantium before we get everything up. We can't do anything with the Barbs of Scorn or this. We can potentially bring up either the Lance of Storm or Chains of Scorn or Talons of Scorn. I think we have the Talons of Scorn equipped, and I don't know if there really is a big difference between any of that. Because it kind of does just feel like it is a item that is designed like it definitely feels like the weapons just change your attack animation and don't really do any difference in damage. Alright, so we're still 5 angelic artifacts short of this, and if we had one that was an angelic artifact, we are 11 demonic artifacts short of this. So while I could upgrade this, it may very well be at the limitation of this, and so any upgrades there should just be put on hold until we get more angelic artifacts, which notably the saleskeeper, the shopkeeper here, is not offering any angelic artifacts. Yeah. So obviously I screwed up here at some point. And so this entire Badlands section I think is wrong. There might be an argument to going through the hollows. Let's see. South end is right, I think, in front of the castle though. There really should have been some gaining though. If the thing was you needed to go through this dimensional portal, it really should have said you can't go anywhere else until you go through the dimensional portal. And that's easy enough to do. Simply just hand you the game should simply just hand you a cutscene in which she walks through the dimensional portal. And now that I see purple ripples on the dimensional portal, I kind of now know that was where I needed to go to get the dimensional abilities, which arguably means I am going to end up having to run through that entire section that we just did between the church and where we ended, just to get purple things. Now, I have no idea where this would be. It, to me, looks like this is a realm of heaven, but then why would a realm of heaven have a floating building? It would almost seem like this might be high in the air above the clouds, and then the buildings were magically elevated upward because of the apocalypse. Or these are the tops of skyscrapers, but then why would they have rocks on the bottom of them if that's the case? Or the other thought is that this is actually surface level and everything has just been destroyed below the surface of Earth. It still doesn't really explain this tower. Now in the first game there was this tower puzzle area, and I wonder if that's something of what this is going to be. It can't really be that big of an area, though.
You're not quite finished, horseman. How can you be worthy of the finest of the sins if you haven't met the rest?
Well, I guess that answers that question. This is probably the final boss fight of the game. Pride is not even going to open the doors and let you in. So we have to meet, and take note how they say meet, the rest of the 7 deadly sins, not defeat. And these portals do seem to be showing you a different image on either side of what the other world is. Which maybe that means we won't see a portal gun type of technology. So we didn't miss out on anything by going there, or not going there, after all. And yeah, you could potentially try and jump down here. I don't even know if that isn't just a place I've been before. Though I think that is a place we've been before. Seems almost like you could climb up here.
What would you ask of this humble?
So I guess the question
Please
then
take your
comes
time.
down to, we could see the Hollows, the Catacombs, Lord of the Hollows Chamber. Let's fast travel here and see if maybe there's more puzzles that you have to follow to get more hollow abilities. Yep. The game does seem weirdly like disconnected. And see, in this area the skull's pointing us to a different demon. Let's just talk to this guy. Alright, so he doesn't even want to talk to us. This looks like this is the fire attack to escape out of it. Yeah, I question if perhaps there was some more stuff you're supposed to do, and you're just supposed to come back to this area in the same way that you're supposed to come back to the void when you get hollows. It may be that simple. And I guess if we goof around here a little bit, we'll end up fighting some people. This is a interesting test, at least, of where our life and health will be. These guys will attack you. So alright, if I jump down into the lava there, that's something we didn't do before. And these guys aren't going to hurt me, so let's just see what happens if we jump down here. It just kills you. Okay. Good to know. We did jump down to the lava down there and collect some collectibles. This will be a good indication of just how have we gotten better at swinging too, because this would have been a swing that would have been kind of hard as any swing could be to start with, and should be easier. And remember, I was really struggling to defeat that the first time I fought that. Now that was super easy. Although noticeably, this shortcut bridge is not up, which means I probably missed a switch somewhere. Now the danger, of course, is going to be that we prematurely it's so much nicer when you break things on accident when you're killing enemies, which, yeah, I would like to, if I was the game director, I would have probably said, make sure that there's an enemy that walks near a breakable object 90% of the time. Let's not have rooms that are empty of people but full of pots and breakable things. It is very Zelda-esque in a way that's not even the way Zelda works now, particularly in Breath of the Wild, where you're running around smashing pots or cutting blades of grass. This was just a big boss fight room, and it was a one-time boss fight room, noticeably. You really shouldn't be able to walk any direction and not have a enemy to kill or something to do, even in returning to an area. I'm not going to crawl through that because I remember that that's not really anything. Yeah, very noticeably, it does seem like there's no reason to go through this section again. I probably should have just gone to the lowest of the areas listed in the hollows on the map on the Serpent Hole fast travel list. You're getting souls. I guess the question is just, are you getting enough souls? Okay. So we know that that is a path we haven't done before. So I think we take that as an indicator to go that direction. Definitely not a very kind place to put a character. Although I guess now because you have that extra weapon, you're a little bit safer. Plus, you could have just gone over here. I don't think I saw this hole. No, we did. Again, a map would be very helpful, and you can see the camera's a little off. We're off center there. Right. Inevitably, I wouldn't be surprised if this doesn't lead to a new pathway as much as it just leads to a single collectible. Yeah. That was unimpressive, to say the least. It's still more efficient, it feels by far, to be in the fire mode. Alright, so there's a bunch of stuff just in this general direction, I think, and in this general direction, and I'm just assuming that none of that matters. And then this all led to this temple dungeon that I'm assuming there's nothing in this little temple dungeon, which this is about the only temple dungeon we've done that actually feels like a temple. And I think that's taken me actually completely out of the area. And then we're back to the sewers. So that's not really where we want to be. Well, I am having a hard time falling. Like, I'm trying to press downward and it's not doing it. It, by default, is having her double flip back up.
Good eating. Please take your time.
Okay, so we started here. We almost certainly saw here. And then here. And here.
As you wish. Do make sure they scream, horseman.
We know there's more game around this. Somewhere. Because there's that whole bridge.
What would you ask of? Please take your time.
Let's just, we're in the catacombs right now. Blistering Bridge is probably where we want to be. Yeah. There must be some gimmick that I'm not figuring out. About this bridge. Let's see. Can we see the switch anywhere? Could we make this jump? I'm seeing on the other side over there some lightning indicators and even some purple wall climbing indicators. I think that would have been activated if it hadn't already been activated. I doubt I'm supposed to just hover or fall downward. I can't hit anything that's that far away. There is something over that direction, but there would be no way to reach it. Yeah, it really just comes off as at some point I'll defeat another one of the 7 deadly sins and that'll get me another hollow, and maybe this is an indication that we're only going to actually defeat 4 of the 7 deadly sins. And get those 4 hollow abilities. Let's see. It's probably easier to just run in this direction to the next serpent hole than it is to try and figure out how to get there. Yep, that was way easier. Yeah, unless there was something secret in this room that I've missed multiple times. Which that's somewhat believable, too, that you would just get turned around or run through a room. So yes, I could go fight the Crucible, but I feel like once you have all 4 of the hollows, there's a chance you're gonna potentially unlock a higher armor, at least, that would make it easier to do the Crucible. Like, the Crucible almost certainly should only really be played at the end of the game, unless you just really, really love fighting. There's nothing to do at the Void, and the Crucible is a different part of Limbo compared to the Void, the Swirling Gate, and Ashen Hall. Now the question is going to boil down to, where were we before? Last place we teleported to was the Catacombs. Mangled Freeway. Cargo ship, I think, is arguably where we're supposed to be. So let's teleport there and see if that's the right place. Oddly, these teleportation points don't seem to be actually in order. Yeah. This is where we were. And I'm just a little confused. Did I just run into a 7 deadly sin that I don't even have a name for? And now we're going towards this pink skull, which is lust, which would kind of make sense. Or was that lust? And I guess we'll find out. Maybe that's the twist. Part of the problem certainly here is I don't for 100% know all of the 7 deadly sins if you didn't name them to me in the first place. They are very arbitrary sins when there's plenty of other sins you could also add or categorize. A giant tentacle monster, though, doesn't scream any particular sin.
Not a particularly lusty location, is it?
Have you learned nothing? Appearances can be deceiving. Besides, lust never appears as expected.
What exactly did you mean by that?
The notion of sin is one thing. The concept of lust is something else entirely. Especially humanity's concept of lust.
I see. As in, a lust for...
You name it. The humans have quite the imagination. Lust is everything to everyone. That's what makes lust dangerous.
Too dangerous, mistress?
No such thing.
So that's one of those walk and talk cutscenes. It's not terrible, but maybe you would have thought about animating that and making it its own thing. Or maybe you just leave it as it is. Like, obviously Fury talking to the Watcher is not interactions that they care much about. They don't have a lot of them happening. And they definitely aren't saying a lot in those conversations. There's not anything here that feels like it's a real character building moment. The Watcher or Fury both need to give like backstory to build their characters, and I don't think they want to really do that. Fury could tell quite a few interesting stories and or tales of hanging out with the other Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, or giving backstory on how those 4 Nephilim defeated all the other half-human, no, the Nephilim in this game are half-demon, half-angel creatures. Like, they don't seem very upset about killing all their brother and sister Nephilim, and how they ended up starting with the Charred Council, and all of that. That's all stuff that could have been written if they cared to do any writing, but this is an action game. And I can't help but assume that the reason why they're saying lust is everything to everyone, and taking it away from the idea of lust just being like a scantily clad character that is only all about sex, is because I am assuming we are actually not going to see her scantily clad and being about sex and all. Here we can see a crawl wall and some purple, so this may be the boss battle we've been waiting for. And very different comparison here of pre-rendering.
This broken world.
The hair goes off.
Power.
I always thought you were the smart one. Pity. To what do I owe this distinct pleasure? After all, to be visited by a fabled horseman.
I have but one purpose here.
And this again
Must we
may be
need
just a
violence?
fight where we can't
You
even
already have
defeat
my
him.
respect.
I have no interest in your respect, just your head.
And see, as a character, her being twice as big is
Calm
about
down,
as big as
Fury.
I'd like her to be,
I am no
any
barbarian
monster to
like
be.
the others. No, we need not meet as enemies. a second time.
Tell it to the Charred Council.
They aren't here. So instead, I tell you, Queen of the Horsemen, powerful, armed with the flame hollow, a crossblade, your fabled whip.
I am above your distractions, Lust.
Well, obviously she's gonna offer the sword, the horse.
Distracting when one lives alive.
Notice that there's no quick time events here, and that's better.
Why must this be so? I know my role in the universe. I wonder if you've ever stopped to question yours. You are a horseman. But why did you make that choice? And if so, was there some reasoning behind it?
Shut up and fight!
You don't even know why you fight, do you?
Notice how that chain didn't even
Do you fight for
grip
your brothers?
the sword
Of course not.
correctly.
Your antagonism towards them is well known. Do you seek to achieve some sort of balance? Oh, you never believed in the greater good until it suited you. No, no, no. What I see in your actions is a lust all your own. A lust for power and privilege and protection from the Nephilim's inevitable fall. Ultimately, that makes us allies, doesn't it?
Well, that was surprising. The armor there that Les is wearing really does not play well. It comes off as like a lust for gold.
What are you, all of you, doing here?
Are we not four horsemen united?
Strife is the one with the two
We
guns
are
in the
here to
middle.
confirm that the mission is complete.
The mission.
The other sins have been destroyed by my hand. Death worked every war and clear his name. More importantly, we have exposed a great conspiracy.
What conspiracy?
Heaven and hell working in secret consort to bring about the apocalypse earlier than anyone would wish for.
The Charred Council has dispatched us together to wreak havoc on both sides. Balance
This is obviously, I think, a hallucination,
be punished.
and the Watcher is probably immune of this.
We are to unseat the rulers of both sides. And in honor of your unwavering loyalty to the cause, the Council has decreed that you will lead the Horsemen.
You, Fury, will usher in a new age on Earth.
Of course. Finally, everything makes some sort of divine sense.
It does?
Mistress, is this not everything you wanted? Finally come to you.
Set aside the past, sister. Today, we live in service to you.
I will be done.
This is way more of a cutscene.
This is not real!
What?
Oh, it was worth a shot.
You think you know me so well!
Is it not what you want most? The power to lead in the manner you see fit. What was an illusion could soon be reality. If you set aside
It would have been really weird
and
for
focus on yourself,
the game to
ultimately,
have
it
the
is
other
your choice
horsemen
to make. So
be-
choose.
enter the game halfway through.
Made them kneel!
I have to say though, just as an artistic direction, sure, if you want to not completely focus on the sexual type of lust and go for more of a greed / lust for gold or lust for power, that's fine, but to completely eliminate the main thing people think of when they say lust in your character design seems ridiculous.
An archangel.
Yeah.
Oh, you seal, you flatter.
I'll see you dead.
Because you see, like, this guy in golden armor also, and his armor is as golden as Lust is.
Stand down!
Now, why would he do that? When he knows a deal with you isn't half as appealing as a deal with me.
I mean, they could have done a little bit
I
of
can return your
cleavage.
sweet little angels
They
to
could
their
have
former
done some
glory.
arm,
Yes,
show some
if
skin
you
on the
just
arms
protected me
and
from this terrible
legs.
woman.
Lucille!
At least do as
Won't
much
it be
skin as
glorious
Fury
when you
is
march
showing.
back to the gates of heaven with your numbers restored.
Shut up!
And restore truth and righteousness to that befouled place. Your truth, Archangel, you see. Your command. Wouldn't that be lovely?
The 7th Legion. Alive and whole. Restoring glory.
And we're back to the weird, no pupil eyes.
No, Lucille!
Won't this be fun?
Almost wonder if the glowing eyes are actually let's see. When you're in a Havoc form, you get your health back, by the way. And that's the end of Lust. And that was not much of a challenge. Maybe that's just because I've
Who gave you the power to
leveled
raise the
up
dead?
my attack so
The
well.
one constant in the universe. Those who possess the most power inevitably crave more. Lust is everlasting. As for who, know this. I was merely a pawn. A feeling you know all too well. Fury. The angels who killed your steed. Pawns as well.
Then who? Tell me!
The players in that game will reveal themselves in time. What if I reveal something even more valuable? Spare me, and I'll give up the location of my fellow sin. Envy.
You have a
And why would you
radar.
do that?
What reason would I have to protect that sniveling coward? She has never experienced frontline combat. She has never experienced the horrors of war. She is the most pathetic of us. Get me to the edge of Haven, and what you want will be yours.
An attractive offer. But I'm tired of your kind underestimating my intelligence. I'll find the rest of the sins by myself.
Not much of a fight, and particularly since you only had to defeat Lust, so just focusing your attack on Lust made that fairly easily. You probably
Your core, you were just an endless void.
should have made it where she sucked the life out of Ursiel and couldn't be defeated until Ursiel had been defeated in the first place. Or at least knocked out.
Finish it. I am ready.
I think not.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if maybe the glowing eyes were supposed to be animated.
Even more so when one is fueled by grief. Lucille's transgression can be forgiven. Once. I have a better understanding of what's happened to the Earth and what's at stake because of it. You're of no use to me, dead. If we are to survive, all of us, alliances must be made.
An alliance? With him?
I don't know what to say.
Say that you'll return the favor. I may soon need it.
My word may hold no weight, but my life is yours, Fury. If I learn of any plotting against you, I will relay the information.
It would be weird if there was an alternate
Did I just witness mercy?
version of the story there where you killed him, because
Just as soon have your head on a pike.
then
Are you or are you not a watcher? Because you should know better. This quest we're on is about balance in the world and within me, it seems. Lust showed me what I could become. It is not what I want to be.
And what do you want to be?
I think that's what I'm here to find out.
so this really is like a growing up journey of a story. Yeah, if you'd killed Ursiel, then going back to that angel kind of home base would have been really weird. And it would have made no sense for them to make that.
With each new challenge, you show more depth.
What do you want?
Both you and I are painfully aware of the endless parade history inflicts upon us. Creatures so pathetically focused on one single purpose.
This is a lot of
These
cutscenes
creatures
in a
are,
row.
ironically,
And we didn't get to collect the collectibles
Make your
around that
point,
area.
Lord Hollows.
It's just surprising, no, refreshing to see something headed in the opposite direction. You are coming into a greater awareness of the flaws that kept you in chains.
Flaws?
Shall I list them?
No, thank you. I've seen enough recently to know they are many.
Which is exactly why I give you this. And by holding it, the raw power of Force itself is here.
It vibrates in my hand. I don't understand.
When the time comes, you will know when and how to use it.
So
Not yet!
it seems like also he is probably a bad guy, but he's setting you up to be very strong for some reason. So now we have the Force Hollow. As far as achievements go now, we still have, I would say, about 38 achievements. This is an interesting location. So it's questionable just how many of those are going to be a thing. So the Force Hollow is a purple attack hammer. And jumping in the air gives you this
I could get
kind of
very used to
explosion.
this level of power.
Right. So I almost wonder if you would get like an automatic game over if you press B here and could sit down on the throne. But you can't do that. That would have been kind of a funny Easter egg, certainly, but maybe breaking the throne would make more sense as something to program for. Inevitably, I think the game is going to have us walk. Ooh, it's a magnetic
Exactly
ball.
the power I had in mind.
The horsemen can be choosers.
Interesting. So, just straight out of Metroid, I would have sworn you would have taken. It feels like there's something back there. Like, but maybe not. I would have sworn that you would have put claws.
The Lord of Hollows will never be accused of subtlety.
Time to find the next sin.
Are you certain? I'm just asking. Seems to me you might be going a little soft. At least that's what the Lord of Hollows appeared to see.
If you truly want to see how I have softened, question my resolve again.
So you get magnetically pulled towards these rocks also. Seems to just kind of end there. And I guess that's where it wanted to end. Alright. I have kind of a hard time believing, though, that I'm going to be doing a lot of attacks and a lot of fights in this mode.
All I'm saying is, there's been a change. It's natural, I think, after all you've been exposed to here.
What do you mean?
Need I remind you, there is no absolute good, nor is there absolute evil in the universe. Those are human concepts. The Charred Council is aware of this. It's the very reason for their continued existence.
The way you blather on, what are you trying to say?
Heaven and hell are not absolutes either. Seen with the proper perspective, they are simply two opposing forces scrambling to gain power over this sad ball of mud.
It is the way of all things.
Here we have another walk and talk, just because they didn't want to throw more enemies at you.
Teeming bacteria, when there is an entire cosmos to explore and to conquer.
But there are objects in this area to destroy, so that's why I didn't go any further. And this is, I guess, the closest thing to falling action as far as this game is going to present. Is just walk and talk areas and places where you can break things to see if there's any clusters. Noticeably, there are kind of some coral type shells on the edge of the boxes here also. I wonder if the idea there was to use used salvation to destroy all of that, and maybe there was some kind of like funny little challenge there to try and get it to swing around and hit everything, although I'd find it kind of hard to believe that you could hit the one back there.
Balance.
Yes, by keeping them occupied with
Like
this
another
miserable
walk and talk.
the universe has a chance to remember.
That is a curious method for seeking balance, especially for being so powerful.
Yes, very curious. So I'm just saying, if you were in doubt, I would understand.
Almost feels like the Hollow is hinting that she would be willing to betray the Charred Council, which I think she will do that at some point, but it's perhaps a little early. It almost feels like my whip attacks are slightly different now. With this Hollow enabled. Unfortunately, I don't think I can get back up there, so If there was something that I missed, it's probably gone for good. It does just seem like notice how that did not actually attack in the order that I wanted it to, because it missed one of the guys. He moved out of range. Yeah, it does feel like I'm doing more damage. But at a certain level, it kind of doesn't matter either, because you're going to just have stronger enemies appear in front of you. Right, so where are we? We've gone over an hour. It's time to wrap up. But trying to get a general idea of where we are and where we've been. It does just kind of feel like we are in a new boatyard area. Let's see. I wasn't really expecting to be attacked. It would have been fairly insane if Fury had taken Lest up on the offer for Envy, because yeah, there's just no reason you would need that. You already have the, so you have to hit these to, like, you already have the radar. The gravity attack, by the way, is right bump A, which feels a little weird. I would have expected it to have been right bump X. So we have right bump Y for lightning, right bump B for fire, right bump A for this. We know there will be a right bump X, but noticeably it's going to be the last thing, when I would have thought it could have been as much as the third thing. You see a big tentacle over there, so we may be going in circles towards that tentacle. And that path seems open to us. And then this path over here seems open to us.
Our wide-eyed friend. Try not to scream like a child.
You try not to die.
So I guess we're probably fighting this sin back to back. Interesting. probably wouldn't hurt if I was going to do that, to just pull a small health crystal to begin with. Yeah, it's almost as if the game itself has lost interest in being as balanced as it once was. Yeah, obviously we'll have one more hollow. Noticeably though, we haven't seen what that hollow ability would really do for us. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is where we get a resurrected version of our horseman, or horse, not the horseman. Yeah, and I guess the biggest thing is obviously that cutscene that we saw there was around a trailer teaser that they made to show everybody, and so it is effectively showing you what Strife looks like. You can't use the small healing shards in menu, oddly, but it doesn't, and it kind of establishes, I guess, what the narrative is and what the timeline is somewhat. That Death was acting to prove War's innocence, and somehow Lust knew that and showed that as a vision. So the hallucination parallels the real story, because in the teaser trailer they would have shown that would have made a bunch of sense. Arguably, maybe I don't need the arcane attack any higher. Like, yes, it is diminishing returns. We could also start to think about getting our health higher. I think it is getting closer and closer to the point where we might need to just have health at 20 and strength at 20 and arcane at 10, and that would be a level 50 character. But I am noticing that my health is getting knocked back down to about 50%, and we're getting dangerously close. I still have that shard of Undying from a long time ago, playing on easy mode though, so that's not super surprising. And we still are getting collectibles to a certain level, so if I wanted to buy a bunch of stuff, I could start selling shards, but I would need something in the I would need something to buy. I don't know what I could really buy. Like, I could potentially sell 10 small healing shards easily. I could sell 15 of them. 10 wrath shards, 10 healing shards, 5 strength shards, a couple of fortification shards. Anything just above 5 we could sell. And we probably would get through the game perfectly fine. And then that would give me souls to feed to Fulgrim to level up. And so we could jump up several levels fairly quickly. I don't know if it really matters that much though. I don't think we'd still be overpowered even then. Anyways, we've gone well over an hour now. These are really turning into an hour and 10 episodes, and yeah, this is a weird experience that we would fight 2 bosses in a row and then they would just give us a bunch of cutscenes, walk and talk cutscenes in between one boss fight and the other. I guess my hope here is that we would have Lust possibly bringing herself back to life, since she supposedly had that power, or her being brought back by somebody else, so that she might play a better character or more important character. Like, I could see the idea of starting the game and having Fury run into Lust, because even before we are on Earth, you see that Fury is kind of lusting for power So you could have had a cutscene where you started just as a titillation, get the player's attention, where you showed lust in kind of a silky, kind of lewd outfit, showing a decent amount of skin, and then lust says, "Oh, I see you do not lust for this, but you do not lust for this. You lust for power." And then at that point, you could see a transformation scene, and then lust would be in the golden armor, and then she would disappear, and then she would be the main antagonist for at least the first half of the game. Or you do that with Pride, because almost certainly Pride is the final boss of the game, and or at least the final of the 7 deadly sin bosses of the game. So yeah, why not show Pride at the very beginning of the game? Why not show a couple of the 7 deadly sins as the big bosses of the game, just so you have a through line of who you're going for and why you're fighting certain people. Like, the narrative that they're trying to tell here is that each of the 7 deadly sins at some level, maybe very small level, is inside of Fury herself, and she is fighting her own demons and becoming a better person, which doesn't really make a lot of sense for the Darksiders series. And for Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, you'd almost have to assume that the Horsemen of the Apocalypse are not that flawed of characters to start with. It gives the feeling that Fury is, on an astronomical scale, the youngest one, or on a maturity scale, the youngest of the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. And I don't even know if that's true. I wouldn't be surprised if Strife is a little bit more immature. But yeah, a tale of growing up and becoming a better person doesn't make the most sense at all. Particularly for a character named Fury. I could go on, certainly, but we're already going late. So that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and give me a game off my wish list. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.